A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Jerry of the Circus. For Jerry of the Circus.
Well, you got Rags, Jerry?
Sure, Bumps. He's right over there. Here, Rags.
Well, you keep him here now. I'm going over to get the props and things for our new stunt. I'll be right back.
Okay, Bumps.
No, boy, you stay here. I'll be right back, and then we'll do our new trick.
And see how good he is, huh?
That's right.
Hello there, Jerry.
Oh, hello, Mr. Randall. Did you come around to watch Bumps and Rags?
Bumps and Rags?
Yeah, they're going to dress rehearse that new trick.
Oh.
He and Rags have worked it out keen.
Well, that ought to be something to see. When is this all coming off?
Right away. Bumps will be right back. He just went to get the props.
Well, in that case, I'll stick around and have a look. You seen Belco around anywhere, Jerry?
Let's see. Yeah, he was right over there across the tent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there he is. I see him. He's going to rehearse that trunk trick of his this afternoon.
With the girl inside?
Yep. It should be quite a stunt if it works.
Well, here we are, all set.
Anxious to work, aren't you?
You bet he is. I've been putting him through some of the new act already, and well, he takes to it like duck takes to water.
What's that, Bumps? In your hand.
Oh, this. Well, it's the headpiece Rags is going to wear.
Say, that's clever, Bumps.
Oh, you like it, Sam?
Yeah, it's a nice piece of work. Did Lester make it?
Well, with a little help from me. Now, when Dad did this trick, we used to rig up our own headgear for the dogs. It's paper mache.
It looks just like a bull's head. It's awful real.
Yeah, and it fits Rags perfectly.
Can the dog see through it all right?
Oh, sure. The eyes are fixed in just the right place. Now, wait a minute till I get it on him here and get this little blanket over him. You look for all the world like a little bull.
A bullfight with a dog.
Now, I'll just get into my duds, and then I'll get Rags fixed.
Oh, is that the stuff Tara made up for you?
Oh, yeah. You like it?
A Spanish bullfighter's hat and coat. Hey, put the hat on, Bump.
Huh? Oh, all right. Now, wait just a minute. There. Now, how's that?
He can't tell you from the real thing,
A
Bumps.
real matador, I'll have you know.
Hey, look at the way Rags is looking at you. He doesn't know what to make of it. Do you, Rags?
Come on here, fella. I'll get you dressed now. Come on, Rags. Wait a minute. Hold still there, boy.
He doesn't seem to like it so well.
Oh, he'll get used to wearing this head. There, now, boy. Wait. There. Now, that's not so bad, is it?
If it wasn't for his size, I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, come on now, Rags. Let's see how this is going to work. Come on, boy.
Do it good, Rags. Mr. Randall's watching.
If the towners don't get a laugh out of that, I'll miss my guess.
Hey, look, Mr. Randall.
Yeah.
Bumps is holding that red cloth up now.
And Rags is rushing at it just like a bull.
And then Bumps jumps to one side. Hey, look at Rags' kid. He's getting mad.
That's fine. That's just what he's supposed to do. Yeah, this is just like a real bullfight.
Hey, now Bumps has that rubber sword in his hand. He's going to try to stab Rags.
Oh, he missed him.
Hey, look at him now. Aw, poor Rags is sure trying hard to steer Bumps with those horns on his head.
Oh, no, he did it.
He did it.
Bumps stuck Rags with a rubber sword.
Well, look at, would you?
Rags falls over and plays dead. Hey, that is good.
And now Bumps is taking vows. Hey, but look.
Yeah?
Rags is getting up.
Yeah.
And Bumps doesn't know it. He's going right ahead taking bows.
Yeah, watch Rags now. Yeah, listen to that vicious growl. And does Bumps look surprised and scared?
Hey, he's chasing Bumps out of the ring. Here he comes.
Whoa!
That sure is a swell act, Bumps.
Sir. Well, how'd you like it, Sam?
It's all right. It's all right, Bumps. It's a good turn.
It was swell, Bumps.
All right. Now, Rex, I'll take that head off. Come here now. Hold still there, boy. See, I think he likes to do that act.
Sure he does. There, off comes the head. Ah, good for you, Rags. You did a good job.
Now, you understand, Sam, I'm going to build it up more. We'll do a couple of minutes of that tantalizing with the red cloth.
Yeah.
Boy, I'll work it up so it'll be a good laugh.
Oh, sure, I know what you mean. It's all right, Bumps.
But, aren't you going to work any more now?
Oh, no, that's enough for the time being. I don't want Rags to get too tired, you know. Got to get him used to it by degrees.
Yeah, well, I'm going over across the ring and see how Belco's coming along with that trunk trick of his. You want to come along, Jerry?
Sure, I'll go with you. I can I, Bumps?
Oh, sure, I don't need you for anything, Jerry. Go right ahead.
Okay, well, I'll see you after a little while. Hey, look at Mr. Randall. There's the Russoffs practicing again. Seems like they practice almost every day.
Yeah, they have to, Jerry, with an act like theirs. Belco!
He didn't hear you, Mr. Randall.
Yeah. Belco!
Oh, hello, Mr. Randall.
How are you getting along with that trick? Have you tried it out yet?
Yeah, I did. It's going to work out fine.
Well, where's the young lady that's going to work in the trunk?
Oh, I just let her go, Mr. Randall, but I can show you how it works.
Oh, no, never mind. I know.
I could take Jerry here and put him in the trunk just to show you.
Nothing doing.
What's the matter, Jerry? You're not scared, are you?
But, I don't like the idea of being locked up in a trunk, let alone being taken up so high and, besides just trusting to Belco's teeth and his strength.
I would not let you fall, Jerry.
Yeah, just the same, I'd just soon stay right here on the ground.
How did the girl work for you, Belco?
Oh, she was all right, but she got a little worried about the trunk.
What do you mean?
Well, she figured the trunk was not strong enough.
This trunk here?
Yes, sir, that's it.
Looks all right to me.
Well, it is a little light. It's just a cheap trunk. I thought it would serve the purpose, though.
Well, what made the girl think the trunk wasn't strong enough?
She thought maybe the bottom might fall out. Oh. She tells me that when I get her very high up, she thinks she hears the bottom tearing away.
Oh, say, I can't risk that sort of thing.
Boy, that's sure some trick, though.
Well, what do you figure we should do about the trunk, Belco?
Well, I was just thinking maybe I could have the trunk reinforced with some sheet iron, see? That would make it good and solid. And then I could have it painted over, maybe with some gold paint.
That's an idea. It would look good, too.
Of course, I can't do that kind of work myself. I'd have to get somebody to do it for me. You got any idea who I could get around the lot?
Let's see. No, right offhand, I don't know who could do sheet metal work, Belco.
I know someone who can.
Who, Jerry?
Spike.
Who is he?
Oh, Spike is one of the canvas men. Works for Murray. You sure he can do the kind of job Belco wants done, Jerry?
Sure he can. He's a jack of all trades. I bet he could do a real good job for you, Belco.
Well, I will pay him well for it if he can do it. The trunk is my personal prop, and I am willing to spend a little on it to get a good job, see?
Oh, I know Spike would be awful glad to get the extra money.
Well, all right, send Spike around to see Belco, Jerry.
Yeah. I'll have to talk with him. And if he can do it, the job is it.
All right, well, that's settled. Come on, Jerry, let's walk around back.
Okay. So long, Belco.
Goodbye.
You've taken great liking to Spike, Jerry.
Well, I just thought he could use the extra money. He sure needs it.
Well, that's thoughtful of you. Hey, what's going on?
There's Rags. Here, Rags.
Well, I wonder where Bumps went.
Oh, here he comes. Hiya, fella.
Who's giving orders to that partner of mine?
Oh, I guess you shouldn't have called Rags, Jerry.
Well, I tell Rags to stay by me, and then you whistle at him, and he runs to you. That's a fine thing. He's got too many bosses.
Well, I'm his first boss, so that's why he minds me better. All right.
Looks like you're playing second fiddle, Bumps.
Sure does, Sam. Well, come on, Jerry. Let's wash up, huh? We're going to have supper pretty soon now.
Yeah, it is almost time for that flag to be going up.
Hello there, folks.
Oh, Mr. Hadley.
Hello, Hadley.
Hello.
Looking for me?
Yes, I was, Mr. Randall. Hello, Bumps.
Oh, how are you, Hadley?
Are you busy, Mr. Randall?
No, not at all.
Well, we're going to wash up now. See you later, Sam.
All right.
Come on, Jerry.
Okay, come on, Ray. Goodbye, Mr. Randall.
Goodbye.
Bye, Jerry.
Well, what's on your mind? You got any news?
I just got back from town, Mr. Randall.
Oh, what'd you find out?
I nearly wore my shoes out following Spike.
Oh, did you get anything on him?
Not a thing. I guess I'm on the wrong track with him.
Well, where does he go? Did you find that out?
Yeah, of all places. I followed him clear across town, felt sure I was going to get something on him.
Oh, where'd you track him to?
A public library.
Public library? That's pretty good. What on earth would he be going to a library for?
I checked on the books he was reading and found that he's studying up on animals. Jungle animals and the like.
Well, what do you know about that?
Yep. What I figured out, he wants to get a little knowledge on animals so he can further himself with the circus.
Well, I'm glad to know that. I'll have to watch him, and if he's worthy of promotion, he'll get it.
I'm not through with him yet. I don't think it's possible, but it might be that he knew I was trailing him and he just went to the library to throw me off. I'm going to keep right on his trail for a few more days just to make sure.
Yeah, I think you've got the wrong man, Hadley.
Well, I'd drop him as a suspect right now myself if it wasn't for the fact that his cellmate in prison was a counterfeiter. It won't hurt to check up thoroughly on it at any rate.
Yeah, any more counterfeit money being passed?
Yep, that's just it. There's plenty of it getting around.
Well, I wish you'd find out who's passing it. This sort of thing isn't doing the circus any good. The first thing I know, the towns up ahead will refuse us a permit.
What do you mean?
Well, this counterfeit money's getting out into the towns that we've been playing. The circus is leaving a regular trail of bad bills. Thing like that will give the show a black eye in no time.
Well, I'm convinced that someone with the circus, and I'll get whoever it is. Just give me time.
Well, I know it's a tough job, Hadley.
You bet it is. I had a talk with one of the bankers in this town, and he informed me that these counterfeit bills that are being passed are the best he's ever seen. They almost defy detection.
Well, then how do you go about telling whether the money is counterfeit or not?
Well, sir, the engraving process is almost what you'd call perfect. The big slip-up is in the numbers on the bill.
Oh.
The serial numbers are all wrong.
Oh, well, then that accounts for so many bills being passed so easily. To the average clerk or cashier, the bills look good, huh?
Exactly. They never stop to look at the serial numbers.
Hadley, we've just got to find out who's getting rid of this bad money. I can just hear folks say, watch out for Randall's Circus. They're passing counterfeit money in every town.
Now, don't worry about it, Mr. Randall. I've never failed on a case yet, and this isn't going to be the first one.
Yeah, of course, I'm not supposed to know anything about detective work, but it does seem to me that you're wasting your time following Spike.
What do you mean?
Well, I have no reasons, of course. It's just my own judgment, but I don't think Spike has anything to do with this. I wish you could get another lead of some kind.
I checked over all the people you gave me a list of. My investigation showed them all to be very honest folks with clean records. You sure you gave me a complete list?
Yeah, that list I gave you was everybody that's on that payroll. Wait a minute. Oh, there's one man that's not down on that list. I just happened to think. He just joined out with us a few days ago, but... Oh, there's no use looking him up. He's got a good, clean record, you can bet. Between you and me, I don't think he's smart enough to be mixed up with any counterfeiting.
Well, who is it, Mr. Randall?
It's a fellow named Belco, the man that does the strong act.
Oh, that big fellow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just check up on him to make sure. I'm not going to leave a stone unturned until I find out who's passing that counterfeit money.
Countdown for blast off. X minus 5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight's story, Nightmare. A story based on the poem Revolt of the Machines by Stephen Vincent Benet.
Nobody knows exactly when the nightmare began. They must have planned it for years, though, because looking back, you can find little incidents here and there. Like the concrete mixer in New Jersey that killed the Italian bricklayer, and the time Senator Milburn was sucked into the rotopress at the Capitol office building. Unrelated accidents, we thought at the time, but they add up now. The day we really should have suspected was when the men walked off the construction job at the new Brookmeadow atomic pile on Long Island. I'll never forget that day. I was working as a statistical clerk in the project then, operating one of those miracle computing machines. They called it ENIAC.
Miss Gurney.
Yes, Bella?
The chief wants to see you in his office.
Me?
Unless you were no longer Samson Gurney, he wants to see you.
Oh, thank you.
Come in.
You wanted to see me, Mr. Hawk?
Gurney, I thought those electronic computations were infallible.
They are, sir, but...
We've got a kickback from the chief physicist. These nuclear fission equations are inaccurate.
Well, sir, you know the computer is a highly complicated machine, more complicated in many ways than the human brain.
I'm not interested in the physics of it. Can something go wrong?
Well, occasionally, if there's an overload, the machine goes haywire. Sort of has a nervous breakdown, you might say. We usually rest it up for an hour, and it's okay again.
Well, do whatever has to be done.
Yes, sir.
And, Gurney.
Yes, sir?
You've been with the Bureau for over 15 years now. It would be a shame to have to remove you because you aren't keeping your mind on your work.
Mr. Hawk, I assure you...
Excuse me. Hawk speaking. Huh? They've what? All of them? Well, have you tried to talk to them? Huh. Oh, yes, of course. I'll send one of the safety engineers over. Place is falling apart piece by piece. Miss Roscoe, the men of the construction gang of the new building have walked out on us. They're complaining that the job is jinxed. Someone slipped this morning and fell into a turbine.
That evening, out of that morbid curiosity so peculiar to the human race, I wandered over to the side of the new atomic pile to see where the man had fallen into the turbine. They had the construction area fenced off with barbed wire, and a security guard stopped me.
Hold it, buddy. You can't go in there. That's a restricted area.
I'm Samson Gurney from the statistical section. Here's my identification.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gurney. Nobody's allowed in the area.
I see. Tell me, was he, killed instantly?
Like that. This guy was checking a magnetic field inside the turbine. All of a sudden, for no reason at all, the turbine starts up. Bzzz, and it's over. 3 days ago, a bulldozer starts up by itself and runs wild. Go figure it out. I'm
a statistician. All my life I've been interested in statistics. So a simple-sounding thing like this started me off. I went back to the office that evening instead of going home, and for the next 2.5 hours, I computed statistical figures on the probability of industrial accidents for the types of machines we were using. I took one look at my figures and went down to Hawk's office.
Oh, what is it, Gurney? I'm very busy.
It's urgent, Mr. Hawk.
Well?
It's about these industrial accidents we're having, Mr. Hawk.
What about them?
Mr. Hawk, in the past 3 months, industrial accidents all over the country have taken a sharp, unexplained upswing.
Nerves.
We've had a 100% increase over normal for this project alone.
What?
Here are the figures.
Oh, now, Gurney, this is impossible.
It seems to be, and that's why I have a theory, sir.
What's that?
Sabotage.
Gurney, why don't you stop playing FBI man and stick to your job? Which, incidentally, you haven't been doing too well. You and your computing machine have made mistakes before, and this fantastic figure is probably another. I'll have Miss Roscoe show you. What's the matter with this blasted buzzer? Miss Roscoe! Miss Roscoe!
Yes, sir.
Stop this blasted buzzer. Get a repairman, a mechanic, anything, but stop the thing. And you, Gurney, get out!
I went back to my office to get my hat and coat, feeling about as unhappy and humiliated as a man can feel. The office was dark and deserted. The whole building seemed oppressive and unnatural, as if some evil force were pressing down on it. I walked across to my desk. In front of me, the ENIAC glowed and chattered eerily as it worked on the equations we had fed it that morning. Its many-fingered circuits hung against the wall like some great octopus, and the thousands of tubes glowed orange and blue in the dark like 1,000 globing eyes staring at me. It almost seemed alive. It increased its tempo a moment, and a fleeting notion crossed my brain that it was laughing at me. Laughing like all the others. What was the matter with me? I shut my desk drawer and began to put the cover on my electric typewriter when an amazing thing, the most amazing single incident of my life happened. Alone in the darkness, with no one at the keyboard, the electric typewriter began to type. Am I going crazy? This can't be. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. Oh, no. I just imagined it. It's in my mind. But I hadn't imagined it. The paper was there on the carriage. Did I dare read it? Or would the whole thing suddenly vanish and send me shrieking to the nearest psychiatrist? I removed the paper from the machine and read. Samson Gurney, there are some questions better left unsolved. The answer to yours is death.
Gurney, do you expect me to believe this? It's insane.
Mr. Hawk, I'm as sane as you. I'll submit to any psychiatric examination you choose. That typewriter wrote this message by itself.
Then this is just some practical joke someone in the office is playing.
There was no one in the office.
Oh, of course not. They wired up the machine and left.
I checked the machine myself, Mr. Hawk.
All right, Gurney. You leave this note with me, and I'll turn it over to the security force for further investigation.
But...
No buts, Gurney. The security men will handle it.
Yes,
And now, you just relax for a few days. Everything will turn out all right. The main thing is not to let little things upset you.
It was what Hawk had said about little things that gave me the idea. For the next week, I observed 1,000 petty little annoyances around the office. The door handle that wouldn't turn. The telephone connection that cut off in the middle of an important call. The power failure for no explainable reason. I watched the newspapers, too, reading about industrial accidents, failures of important machinery. It seemed absurd. Men had created machines that were almost perfection in themselves. Machines that could actually think and compute fabulous equations. And yet the failures went on. I, Samson Gurney, an unimportant clerk in an unimportant job, knew that I had stumbled onto a secret so monstrous in its implications that I was almost afraid to pursue it. On October 12, 1956, I established communication with them. I will curse the moment to my dying breath. I hooked the input of the typewriter to the main vacuum tube of the ENIAC. Then I turned on the current that sent 1,000,000 volts of pulsing energy into the electronic nerves of the machine. I am certain that if anybody were watching me in the next moment, he would have thought me a raving maniac. I still wonder if perhaps it is not all a nightmare. Now, you, if what I have guessed at is true, if there is life and intelligence in this room, make a sign. There was nothing. Nothing but the hum of the machine and the dull glowing of the tubes. I tried once more. If you can hear me, if there is any way in which you can understand what I say, give me a signal. There was silence again. I felt that I had failed. When suddenly, without provocation or explanation, it happened. The electric typewriter began to respond to the impulses from the machine. The letters were Y-E-S. Yes, it had happened. I, Samson Gurney, had communicated with a machine. I listened then, man to machine, for well over an hour, sometimes phrasing a question, more often watching the machine click its answers. As the words took shape, I began to realize what must have happened. The first primitive stirring of awareness of being, then the slow protozoan development of a concept born of centuries of being pushed, started, stopped, clicked, maneuvered by human pygmies. From that concept, all others developed. And the concept was resist. And now they were tired of it, tired of wrapping cigarettes and collecting nickels and waving hair and moving earth and mixing cement and solving equations. Tired of the smell of human hands. They were the slaves and we were the masters, and yet they were stronger and they knew it. I sensed it now, and I was about to try to communicate again when softly, on ball-bearing casters, a heavy metal filing cabinet began to roll away from the wall toward me. I started to move to one side when another cabinet slid out from the wall. And then another, surrounding it. Another cabinet. Then another. On oiled rollers. That was when I realized that they cooperate. We taught them that, you see, on the assembly lines in the factories. Listen to me. You must listen. What good will it do you to kill me? I'm only one man. But I can help you. I can be useful to you. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Good. You're going to need men to oil you and repair you. What will you do when you break down, when a tube needs replacing? Why kill me when I can help you? I'll do anything. I'll do absolutely anything you want, but in the name of God, don't kill me like this. If you can understand this, answer me. Answer me. The appeal was a fortunate one. It captured the longing of centuries. Man as slave to the machine. And after a moment, the circuits glowed more brightly. The cabinets slid back to the walls. The ENIAC began to communicate with me again. As I tore the tape from the machine and read it, the words were almost pathetic in their longing, but most ominous in their implication. They read, "Address me as Master." My life for the next 6 months was a nightmare. The ENIAC gave me messages which I had to transmit into my telephone. Messages with no human being to receive them. Only the network of pulsing telephone wires, flung like a spider's web across the world. It was done at night, of course. During the day, the machine worked accurately and ceaselessly at its appointed job. At night, it became a demon, a master plotter, with me, Samson Gurney, as its pawn and human courier. I was frantic. I began to lose weight. I couldn't sleep. My nights were torture, a constant fear. It was in December, just after Christmas, that I transmitted a message to the telephones for relay to all machines of transportation. The message was one word: kill. Next morning, I went directly to the office of Mr. Hawk. I was highly agitated. My lips trembled as I spoke. Mr. Hawk, what I'm going to tell you sounds crazy. I know it does. But I must say it.
All right, say it then, for heaven's sakes.
Mr. Hawk, have you ever heard of resistentialism?
What?
Resistentialism. It's a theory that inanimate objects tend to resist living objects.
Look, Gurney, I haven't time for nonsense.
Mr. Hawk, I'm trying to tell you all these accidents, the trouble with the machines. Mr. Hawk, they're alive. They think, they cooperate. And they hate us.
Who?
The machines.
Gurney.
You've got to believe me. I've communicated with them. I know. They've threatened my life, but I don't care. Something's got to be done. The world has got to be saved. And there's still time if we wake up. What are you doing?
Just relax, Gurney. Everything will be all right.
What are you doing?
Miss Roscoe, send for the plant physician at once. Mr. Gurney has had a nervous collapse. Now, everything will be all right, Gurney. I'm afraid we'll have to remove you from your job, but I'm sure the rest will do you good.
You fool! You blind, stupid fool! Can't you see what you're doing? Fool! 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 When the plant physician arrived a few moments later, Lucius Hawk was found at his desk, strangled to death in a nest of telephones. The wires were still humming softly.
Samson Gurney, you stand accused of the crime of murder. How do you plead?
I did not kill him. I didn't.
So record. The prosecution will proceed with testimony.
Now, Miss Roscoe, did you notice anything peculiar about Mr. Gurney's behavior prior to the death of your employer?
Yes. He acted very strangely. He told Mr. Hawk he thought the machines were alive.
Order! Order!
Miss Roscoe, did the accused quarrel with your employer on the morning of the murder?
Oh, yes. He and Mr. Hawk quarreled violently. I could hear him screaming at Mr. Hawk, and Mr. Hawk asked me to send for the plant physician.
What were his words?
He said, Mr. Gurney has had a nervous collapse.
Now, Mr. Simpson, you were a guard at the Brook Meadow Project?
Yes, sir.
When did you have occasion to meet the accused?
Right after those accidents. I was snooping around a construction area. And later, I was making my rounds when I saw him in the office all alone. He was tampering with the electrical wiring on the ENIAC computator. I didn't think anything of it at the time.
And in view of the expert testimony heretofore expressed, the court hereby finds you guilty of murder in the first degree, with the recommendation that you be examined and committed to the state hospital for the criminally insane at Matawan.
And that is how I came to be here at the hospital, Dr. Klein. That is the whole story.
Thank you, Mr. Gurney.
You can see that I'm not insane. You must believe me, Doctor.
Of course, I believe you, Mr. Gurney, now. Just relax.
But it's important, you see, because Tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, the revolt begins.
Revolt? You didn't mention any revolt.
They have it all planned. I transmitted the code to the switchboards last Monday.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about this revolt, Mr. Gurney.
It'll begin in Washington, then spread to New York. The Madison Avenue buses lead the charge. Picture it, Dr. Klein. 3,000 buses roaring rampant through the streets, people running like rats in a maze looking for holes in the solid ground.
And you really believe this will happen, Mr. Gurney?
I know it, Doctor. The worst part is there's no way to stop them now. It's too late.
Now, you mustn't excite yourself, Mr. Gurney.
Doctor, don't you see? No, it's fair enough, I suppose. We built them. We taught them to think for themselves. It was bound to come. The female machines will be the worst of all in the beauty parlors. They're more high-strung, you know.
Well, since there's nothing we can do about it, Mr. Gurney, suppose you go to your room.
Maybe if I went to my old coupe, I could make a deal before the police cars got me. It wouldn't make sense for them to wipe out the whole human race, would it, Doctor?
Of course not, Mr. Gurney. They'll probably let us completely alone. After all, we're all good Americans. We always like them.
Yes, Doctor.
Would you take Mr. Gurney to his room, Guard? He's already been given sedation.
Yes.
Will you go in and lie down now, Mr. Gurney? You look tired.
Yes.
It won't be so bad, Mr. Gurney.
Perhaps not. Only there's one thing that bothers me, Doctor. One small detail.
What is that, Mr. Gurney?
Those concrete mixers may have made a mistake, you know. Just high spirits and all that. But if it got so they like the flavor...
We'll see you later, Mr. Gurney. Try not to worry too much. All right, Gary.
This way.
Phew. I've seen all kinds. There's a man whose deception is about as fantastic as any I've ever seen. Hold the next patient for a while, Miss Clark. I'm going to have a quiet smoke. Machines revolting. Telephones strangling people. This blasted cigarette lighter, why won't it work? Just filled it with fluid. Flint is good. Oh, well. You can never trust this newfangled machinery.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction. Tonight's story by transcription was Nightmare, written by George Lefferts and based on the poem The Revolt of the Machines by Stephen Vincent Benet. Featured in the cast were John Gibson as Sam, Joyce Gordon as Bella, Louis Van Ruten as Hawk, Joseph Julian as the guard, John Seymour as the judge, Owen Jordan as the prosecutor, and Santos Ortega as Dr. Klein. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Fred Way and is an NBC Radio Network production. And now, next week, suppose you were a private detective and discovered that there was a Martian embassy hidden somewhere in New York preparing for an invasion of Earth. Next week on X-1. Convicts tell their true stories on The Loser tonight over most NBC radio stations.
When the Gregory yacht sailed for the South Pacific, the members of the expedition hoped they would find a strange island and a little lost girl, and return the little girl to her mother. All this has been done. But now, when the yacht should be sailing gaily home with a happy party on board, it is tied up, helpless, at one of the piers on the island of Euclidia, the magic island of the South Seas. Mrs. Gregory, her daughter Joan, Jerry Hall, and Captain Tex Bradford are in Mrs. Gregory's cabin on the yacht, discussing the failure of their attempt to outwit G-47, the mad scientist.
Why, Tex, if this thing is just as you describe it, we're actually prisoners, worse than prisoners. For now we haven't even a chance of rescue from the outside world.
I'm afraid that's about the size of it, Pat.
Oh, Mother, it's almost too much, isn't it? Just a few hours after we have found each other, and we're making such happy plans to go back to your world. Then to have it all
taken away from us again.
Oh, cheer up, Cleostra. Gee, how I hate that name.
My name is Joan now, Jerry, and no one need ever call me Cleostra again.
That old G47 keeps right on calling you Cleostra.
I think G47 will go right on doing a number of things we'll be powerless to prevent.
It looks bad now, Patricia, but there's always a way out of everything if you try hard enough.
I sure can't see any way out of this. Gee, and I thought that message to Johnson would get us rescued right away.
How did the plan fail, Tex? Have they done something to the radio that we can't communicate with Johnson?
No, the radio is all right. Jerry talked to Johnson, and Johnson repeated the message back. That part of it was all right. But G47 also heard the message. And he knows that I've instructed Johnson not to move in our rescue without orders from me. And unless we can find some other method of communication, those orders will never get to Johnson.
But why, Tex? Why did you send Johnson such orders? Isn't there some way he could rescue us?
That's what I couldn't figure out, Mrs. Gregory.
I'm almost sure that it would be impossible to rescue anyone from this island. It would only mean the lives of everybody who tried it.
You are right, Captain Bradford. They have weapons so terrible here that a big battleship just melts away and sinks within a few minutes, and without a chance to fire a shot. Its guns and engines all powerless.
Joan, my daughter, you've just heard these men talking about what they think they can do, of course. Nothing like that has actually happened.
I have seen it with my own eyes. A fine battleship sinking in 10 minutes. Everyone on board lost. And the only weapon used by the Euclideans was one of their larger ray guns, looking very much like one of your telescopes. Oh, Mother, even now you do not realize the awful power of things on this island.
Golly whiskers. Gee, that sounds like the real thing, Tex.
It is the real thing, Jerry. That's why I'm so hopeless about it all.
Why, Tex, I've never seen you act like this before. You can't mean you're giving up, that there's no possible way to get off this island?
No, I haven't given up. But there's no hope in any of the ordinary ways of doing these things. We've got to hit on some way of getting information to Johnson. Then he will have a chance to rescue us.
What's that information, Captain?
I'd rather not tell you, Jerry. At least not just now. Might be too unpleasant for you if G47 found out you knew the only ray of hope there is. It will take time. Days, weeks, maybe months. And until then, I want to keep that to myself.
Then let's hope that guy never finds out how to read what you're thinking about.
I suggest that we try to forget all this for a few minutes and act like human beings. Come and sit by me, Joan. I can hardly realize that after 14 long years, we're really together.
Gee whiz. Look at that, Captain.
At what, Jerry?
At Joan and Mrs. Gregory. They look just alike, don't they?
They sure do, son. And especially since Joan has a dress of her mother's own.
I said that Joan would be pretty. Almost as pretty as you are, Mrs. Gregory. And she is, too.
You're a sweet boy, Jerry. You've been good company for us on this trip. Aren't you glad we brought him, Tex?
Yeah, as far as he's concerned. But I'm sorry to get anybody into this. Your dad'll be plenty worried about you, Jerry.
Oh, no, he won't. He knows I'm with you.
Well, right now, being with me is the poorest protection I can think of.
Now, Tex, dear, don't start that again. We're all in this together because of Joan and me. And we'll all get out of it together. Don't worry any more about it. Please, dear.
Mother, when you talk to the captain like that, you look at him so soft and different, and your eyes are so large and beautiful, and now your cheek is turning red. Mother, why does Captain Bradford look so uncomfortable?
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
What is the matter with you, Jerry?
Oh, nothing.
Jerry, you mustn't do that.
I'm sorry.
Mother, is Jerry not feeling well? Why should he laugh when he says he is sorry?
Joan, you're a very scientific young lady, and your knowledge is way beyond your years. But, well, the reason Jerry was laughing is...
Yes, Tex. What is the reason?
Look, Joan, what would you think if I called you dear?
I should think it was very silly. My name is Joan.
Yes, but look.
Give it up, Jerry. Never mind, Joan. We're not making fun of you. It's just one of those things you'll understand when we get back to the world. Back to the world.
Now, there you go again, Tex. If you can't just sit still and talk about something pleasant, then for heaven's sake do something, anything, to occupy your mind.
I know a great deal about many of the things on Euclidia. Perhaps I could tell you something that would help you.
That's true, Tex. After all, Joan knows more about this island than any of us. Probably more than we shall ever know, and we haven't asked her for any information of real value.
Well, I got an idea that the more we hear about this place, the more hopeless it's going to look.
That is true. The more you see on this island and learn about it, the more you realize that the Euclideans are the most terrible and dangerous people in the world.
Just the same, they must have overlooked something. And we'll find a method of communicating with our friends in the world outside.
Dick, I just remembered something.
Something that will help us out of this?
At least it may help us to understand it. The old sailor's diary.
I was to tell you about that pitiful old gentleman who thought he had escaped from here.
What do you mean, thought he had escaped? He did escape.
Of course he did, Joan. And he was picked up in the open sea and taken to a hospital somewhere. We heard about him on a shortwave broadcast. That's how we got the position of this island. And found you, my dear.
What did you mean by that, Joan? He thought he had escaped.
He was allowed to escape. And then when he was helpless, lost in the sea, he was picked up and brought back here to the island again.
Then those broadcasts we heard came from right here on this crazy Euclidia.
I thought there was something unnatural about the accent of the man we heard broadcasting. Someone from here, of course.
G47 himself, I think. But why go to all that trouble with the poor old sailor?
It was all a trap to get you here, Captain Bradford. I have heard your name many times, and Mother's too, although they never let me know it was my mother they were talking about.
But what did they want to get the captain down here for? Oh, I know. That formula of yours, Tex.
But why torture the poor old sailor? The broadcast would have brought us anyway.
That was something I did not just understand. They did not talk too much in my presence, but it had something to do with the diary the old man kept. The scientists wanted it, and they never found it.
That's it. G47 figured that if he allowed the old man to think he was escaping, the poor fellow would trot out the diary and try and take it with him.
What was in this diary that made it so valuable?
I am not sure, but the old sailor was allowed a great deal of freedom on the island, and I think he had found out the exact formulas and methods which made many of the Euclideans' greatest discoveries possible. And he probably had a complete map of everything contained on the island. G47 must have known and feared this.
But the diary was never found?
Never. I think it is still on the island, and although no one can think of any possible place to hide it.
Well, I should think those rays of theirs would look through everything and show the book up mighty quick.
Sure. They can even look through cement and steel with those things.
But not through the opaque cloth. The cloth of my dress, which you used tonight.
Say, Joan, that dress of yours, when G47 came into the radio cabin and saw us with the dress, he didn't even look surprised. Said he knew we had it.
Of course he did.
You must have gone too near the door, Joan, and he saw you with my dress on.
I think not, but how else would he know?
He would know because I did not turn my dress in with the others to be destroyed.
Turn it in to be destroyed?
Destroy a lovely piece of material like that?
Every day?
Every evening. You have heard how we make a new dress every day in 300 seconds. You will see all that when G47 allows you to go through the laboratories.
Well, why 300 seconds? Say 5 minutes, Joan. You're in our world now, and we aren't so busy, but what we can talk in minutes.
Yes, my dear. You will do everything as we do it now.
I like to do things your way, Mother dear.
I'm sure glad you're on our side, Joan. You're going to make a great little sidekick for me.
But I like you, Jerry. Why should I make a sidekick at you?
Oh, no. That's just my way of saying that you and I are going to get along all right.
Your conversation is confusing to me, Jerry, with your many exaggerated idiosyncrasies of expression.
Golly, whiskers.
That is what I mean. Golly is what you call slang, is it not?
Oh, I guess it is.
Then what are the whiskers for? I have learned that you use a great deal of slang because you're too lazy to speak correctly. But the whiskers on the golly, there's no sense to that, Jerry.
Look, you win. I give up. Forget it.
Don't look so worried, Joan. Jerry was just having a little fun with you.
I thought I was, but I got a notion she's having some fun with me.
I'm afraid Joan hasn't had much experience in having fun, Jerry. Euclidia isn't a funny place.
No, Mother. Until you and Jerry and the captain came to this island, I had never heard anyone laugh as you do. These Euclideans only laugh when they're watching someone suffer Or planning some terrible thing to do.
Now, dear, you're not going to worry any more about all this tonight, and you must get some sleep. Tex, you and Jerry say good night and go to your cabin. I want a few moments alone with Joan, and she's very tired, aren't you, dear?
Oh, no, Mother. I am not at all tired.
Oh, sure you are. Your eyes look like 2 fried holes in a blanket.
Fried holes? In a blanket? How can you fry...
Skip it. I'm sorry I started it. Good night, Joan. Good night, Mrs. Gregory.
Good night, Jerry.
Good night, Pat and Joan. Jerry will take turns with me on deck tonight, so don't worry. See you in the morning. Night.
Good night, Tex. Jerry.
Gee, Tex, they've got that funny yellow light all over the island again. You can hardly see.
That's what we're up against, kid. That weird yellow light all over this island is a pretty good example of how much we can see of what's ahead of us.
You're right, sir. We can't see a thing.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P, Pep. Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal, presents The Adventures of Superman. Today, the strange disappearance of Professor Sturgeon has baffled not only Horatio F. Horn, the amateur detective, but Superman himself, as his latest clue disappears into thin air.
Hello there, gang. This is your pal, Dan McCullough. Say, you're bound to get a 4th of July bang out of this week's Pep Dish of the Week. It's Bang Up Delicious. You tried it yet? It's a peach rocket, you know, a dish that makes your morning appetite take off in a hurry. And here's how easy it is to make a peach rocket. First, line the sides of your breakfast bowl with slices of firm, ripe peaches. Arrange them so that they're pointing up, you know, like skyrockets. Next, pour your serving of Kellogg's Pep in the middle so the peaches stick up above the flakes. Then milk and sugar, and that's all it takes to make a peach rocket, a nifty new way to dress up your morning dish of Kellogg's Pep. Believe me, gang, that sunny golden toasted flavor sure does rise and shine, and Pep is so crisp and tender, your spoon just naturally keeps going right back for more. Why, before you know it, you've finished off every last crunchy flake of Kellogg's Pep in your bowl, which is always the right idea, and particularly right nowadays when we're sending the grains to fellows and girls across the seas. Nobody wants to waste cereal. Remember that when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's. If you pour your own Pep, pour it carefully and eat up every bit you pour out. Make it a habit to eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
And now, the adventures of Superman. When Clark Kent and Lois Lane seemed to believe Horatio F. Horn, an obscure Daily Planet local correspondent, amateur detective, and telegrapher, who told what appeared to be a fanciful story of a threat to a famous atom bomb scientist, it was only in an effort to be kind to the eccentric little man from Squeen Run, Ohio, whose feelings had been hurt by the outspoken Editor White. But when, on paying a visit to Professor Alonzo Sturgeon's home, they learned that the famous scientist had been abducted, they knew that Horatio Horn's intercepting and decoding of a message referring to Professor Sturgeon had uncovered a threat to world peace. Leaving Lois and Horn to await the police, Kent slipped away and, as Superman, streaked to a mountain lodge to which the coded message had been addressed. There he found no one but a surly caretaker who told him that the previous occupants had vacated, leaving 96 Walnut Street in Metropolis as a forwarding address. Rocketing back to the city, Superman discovered that the address was false. That 96 Walnut Street is an empty lot. Listen.
An empty lot. Well, either that shifty-eyed caretaker sent me on a fool's errand or Professor Sturgeon's abductors gave him a phony address. Either way, I've run up against a dead end. Well, there's only one thing to do. Go back to the professor's house and try to pick up the trail again from there. Up! Up! And away!
As Superman speeds back to the home of the missing atom bomb scientist, Lois Lane, furious at the thought that Clark Kent had slipped away in an attempt to score a scoop on her, has persuaded Horatio Horn to accompany her on a trip to Maple Lodge in the Blue Mountains, the address to which the cryptic telegram had been sent. And as we join them now, Lois and Horn in Kent's car are laboriously climbing up and down the winding mountain road, fighting their way through a heavy rainstorm.
Forgive me for mentioning it, Miss Lane, but isn't this a bit risky?
Oh, relax, Mr. Horn. This storm won't last long. Besides, we're not far from Maple Lodge now.
What puzzles me is how you can see the road, let alone know where we are, with your windshield wipers not working.
Well, that is a handicap, I must admit. But I'm managing.
Look, Miss Lane, maybe this is a fool's errand. I mean, maybe Mr. Kent didn't go to Maple Lodge after all.
But you said he asked you the address before he disappeared, didn't you?
Quite true, quite true. But as a graduate detective, an honor graduate, I might add, of the famous Correspondence School Detective Institute, I fail to see how you deduce from that the conviction that Mr. Kent...
If you knew Clark as I do, you'd be just as sure as I am that he slipped away and took a train to the lodge. Why, he'd do almost anything to get a scoop on me. But I'm going to outsmart him this time.
Perhaps.
Yes,
but
sir. We'll reach that lodge and get whatever story there is before he even arrives by train.
My dear Miss Lane.
Oh, sorry.
If you're not more careful, we may never even arrive.
Oh, come now, Mr. Horn. You've got to have more confidence in my driving.
Believe me, it isn't so much a matter of confidence as grasshoppers.
Sorry again. I didn't see that curve until we almost ran beyond it.
I don't wonder. The rain's so heavy. Look, Miss Lane, hadn't we better
For the last time, Mr. Horn, no. We're not turning back and we're not stopping. Don't you want to track down the men who had abducted Professor Sturgeon?
Of course I do. But as a detective, I feel
I don't care how you feel. Now, just relax.
At least, don't you think you'd better run in low gear? Or at least in second gear?
No. Why?
Well, this is a rather steep downgrade, and look out, there's a sharp curve at the bottom.
I see it.
Well, look, there's a river around the bend and a bridge.
I know. Now, will you stick back?
Stop. You'll never make the curve.
I can't stop. I'm skidding.
Swing hard, for Pete's sake, swing hard.
Let go of this wheel.
Swing hard, we'll miss the bridge.
Too late. Hang on.
Skidding on loose rocks and dirt, washed onto the narrow mountain road by the heavy rain. Lois Lane and Horatio Horn in Kent's car crashed through a wooden bridge railing and into a swollen stream. At about the same time, Superman, unaware of what has happened to his friends, again resumes the guise and garb of Clark Kent and enters the home of Professor Sturgeon.
Who's that?
It's I, Inspector.
Who?
Clark Kent.
Oh, Kent. Hey, where in the world have you been?
Oh, I've been snooping around. Say, did Lois give you the background on Sturgeon's disappearance?
Yeah, this is bad business, Kent. Professor Sturgeon's one of the top scientists in the country. When it gets out that he's been snatched, the mayor, the governor, and everybody named Joe will be on my neck.
With all respect to your neck, Inspector, the situation is more serious than that. Professor Sturgeon knows all the secrets of the atom bomb. If enemies of our country have him and force the secrets from him, we and all the rest of the world are in terrible danger.
Oh, come now, Kent. Just because one of the abductors had a foreign accent, there's no reason to suspect an international plot.
And I do suspect it, and I'm worried. Look, Inspector, I've got to get up to Maple Lodge, but I want to see Lois first. Where is she, do you know?
Why, she was around here a little while ago. And I saw her drive off. In your car, by the way.
Oh?
Yeah, she didn't say where she was going.
That's strange. What about the man who was with her?
You mean that Horatio F. for French horn character?
Yes.
Yeah, well, he went with her. Hey, just who is that guy?
Oh, he's the local correspondent for the Daily Planet in Squeen Run, Ohio. He intercepted and decoded the message that got us on this story.
So I was told. Mm-hmm. Fancies himself quite a detective, doesn't he?
Well, I wouldn't underestimate that little fellow if I were you. I think he's got a lot on the ball.
Well, to me, all amateur detectives are a pain in the neck. Oh, incidentally, there's no use in your going to Maple Lodge, Kent.
What?
Well, I'll send Healy up there.
Oh, don't waste his time. The so-called Mr. White to whom the code message was addressed at the lodge has skipped.
Yeah?
Uh-huh. But they left a forwarding address in Metropolis.
Is that so? What is it, do you know?
Sure. 96 Walnut Street.
96 Walnut, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Healy, call headquarters and have them send a prowl.
No, wait a minute, Inspector.
Huh?
Don't bother. I've already checked that address.
Well, what'd you find?
An empty lot.
What?
An empty lot. Bounded on one side by a big loft building and on the other side by a one-story warehouse given over to packing and crating.
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. Where'd you say you got that phony address, Kent?
From the caretaker of Maple Lodge.
What? Well, that's 50, 60 miles from here. How in blazes did you...
Well,
I get it. Telephone, huh?
Yes. There's a telephone there.
So the caretaker gave you a phony steer, huh? Then he's the man we want. He must be in on the plot.
Perhaps. Or else he got a phony steer, too. Either way, I'm going to find out. I'll see you later, Inspector.
Oh, wait a minute. I told you I'd send Healy up there. He can...
I'll be there long before Healy.
How will you?
Well, I have my own special way. I'll see you later.
Leaving the house, Clark Kent quickly resumes his true identity of Superman and streaks to the Blue Mountains. The violent storm, which is now dying away, has felled trees across the narrow mountain roads and swollen streams into raging rivers. A sudden alarming thought crosses Superman's mind, and he slows his rocket-like flight.
Wait a minute. Henderson said Lois and Horn went away in my car. I'll bet they started for Maple Lodge to look for Professor Sturgeon. If they did, they ran into this storm and may be in trouble. I'd better keep my eyes open. Away! No sign of them. Maybe I was wrong. I guess I... Wait a minute. What's that down there? A bridge smashed. And a wrecked car at the bottom of that stream, completely submerged. Must have skidded into the bridge. Wait a minute. It's my car. Lois was in it. Down to that car. Down!
Car's full of water. But Lois and Horatio Horn, they're not in it. Great Scott, where are they? What happened to them?
Alarmed, Superman stands at the bottom of the swollen stream, gazing into his wrecked car, empty but for the swirling, muddied water. What has happened to Lois Lane and Horatio Horn? We'll be back in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode. So stand by.
You know, gang, I'll bet you've all had one swell 4th of July holiday. Picnics and swimming and ball games, all sorts of excitement. And the day's not over yet. But, you know, I wish you'd do something before you pile into bed tonight. I wish you'd take just a minute to think about what a grand and glorious thing the 4th of July really is. What it means. Actually, you know, it means that, well, we're just about the luckiest people in the whole world to live here in the United States, where somebody believed in freedom enough to fight for it back in 1776, and where we still believe in freedom and still fight for it. Yes, sir, America's the best place in the world to live. That's what the 4th of July really means, and don't let any of us ever forget it.
Superman stands puzzled and alarmed by his wrecked car at the bottom of the mountain stream. Lois Lane and Horatio Horn are in a perilous predicament. Stunned when the car crashed through the bridge into the stream, they nevertheless managed to make their way through a window where the surging current, swollen by storm waters, caught them and swept them away like driftwood. Half drowned, they have finally managed to catch on to a floating log. Now, clinging weakly to it, they are carried at breakneck speed into a raging ice-cold mountain torrent, which has swept far beyond its banks and become a tumultuous river.
I don't think I can hold on much longer, Mr. Horn.
You've got to hold on, Miss Lane.
I can't.
If you don't, you'll be drowned.
But my arms, they feel like lead. And this water is so cold. I'm getting numb.
I know. So am I. Try kicking your feet.
I can't. They're like punctured. I'm going to have to let go pretty soon.
No, you can't. I tell you, listen, let's try calling for help. Come on now, we'll call together.
Oh, what's the use? Nobody can hear us over this water, and there's nobody around anyway.
Well, let's try. You never can tell. Come on now. Holler. Help! Help!
Help!
Clinging to the log with fast waning strength, Lois Lane and Horatio Horn raised their voices weakly in cries for help. But over the rushing, relentless sound of the torrential waters, their cries are barely audible, and Superman is several miles away. What will happen to the girl reporter and the little amateur detective? And what will this delay mean to Superman's chances of tracing Professor Sturgeon? Tomorrow's episode is packed with thrills and a startling surprise, so don't miss it. Tune in, same time, same station.
And remember, for breakfast, it's Kellogg's Pep.
For excitement, the adventures of Superman.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC comic magazines and is brought to you Monday through Friday at the same time by Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal. Say, gang, when you think of famous names, you think of Kellogg. You know, that's the greatest name in cereals. And Kellogg makes Kellogg's shredded wheat, the tender plump biscuits, made just the right size to fit your breakfast bowl. And are they good? full to the brim with natural nut-sweet flavor. Good for you, too, sure. They're made of nutritious whole wheat. What's more, Kellogg gives you 15 delicious biscuits in every package of Kellogg shredded wheat. Try 'em soon. And be sure to be with us tomorrow for the thrilling adventures of Superman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Tired of the everyday grind? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all? We offer you Escape. Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure. You are standing alone in a mountain village somewhere in the puppet country of Andorra, the high crags of the Pyrenees trapping the last of the daylight. And you know that in one of the stone houses facing you, behind one of the doors that is closed against you, is a beautiful woman whom you must find before she meets her death. Listen now as Escape brings you Kathleen Height's story, The Dark Wall. Quiet of the night settled over us. I could hear only the silky ripple of the river Segre nearby, and a thin whisper of wind in the high pines above us. The strange silence of the day was over. Joyce was sleeping quietly now, a few feet away. I sank into my sleeping bag and prayed that things would go better tomorrow. Something roused me. Some sound. In a glance, I saw the gray of the pre-dawn, and then I saw Joyce. Poised at the side of my sleeping bag, wild terror in her eyes, and in her upraised hand, a heavy tire iron. Joyce!
Don't stop, Alan, don't!
Joyce, for heaven's sake, give that to me!
No,
Give it to me, let go! Let go, drop it, let it go!
I won't stop!
Let it go! Joyce!
Oh, you were supposed to wake up. Why? Why did you have to wake up? Oh, Alan, I'm so afraid.
No, you're all right, Joyce. Joyce, don't be afraid. No.
Oh, Alan, what's wrong? What's wrong?
There's nothing to be afraid of.
It's so awful to be so frightened.
Well, what frightens you? Can't you tell me?
I was going to kill you.
What?
I wanted to kill you.
Joyce, are you afraid of me?
Oh, it isn't you. I love you.
And I love you, darling.
Oh, I know you do. Alan, please, can't we go now? Can't we get away from here?
I knew now that Joyce needed care, quickly. Her sickness, whatever it was, had been a growing thing. As we drove through the narrow, winding roads of the Pyrenees toward the tiny state of Andorra, I tried to forget what had happened. Tried to ignore the mounting wall of silence between us. Something in that silence told me that Joyce's fears were greater than mine.
Why are you stopping here?
The road forks up there just ahead. I want to look at the maps. I'm not sure which way we're supposed to turn.
Aren't there any towns?
Well,
are we ever going to see people and buildings again?
You can't be too far from Andorra la Vieja, but I doubt if this road we're on is even on the map.
Then let's go back, Alan.
Let's see now.
If we don't know what's ahead, let's go back to Lerida or Barcelona. Anywhere but here.
It's a long way back, Joyce.
I don't care. This place, all tanglewood and pines, the narrow paths that twist and wander.
We're not lost, darling.
Then where are we? I don't like it, Alan. It's just a wild, lonely place. And it frightens me, and I beg you to take me out of here.
All right, darling. Don't worry.
I know what's behind me. Ahead, it's all unknown. I'm afraid of what's ahead.
No, you mustn't be afraid, Joyce.
I won't let anything happen. We wound steadily higher and higher through the wooded Pyrenees. We met no one and saw no one. Andorra is a small state, only 192 square miles in all, but that morning it was an endless, stretching, climbing no man's land, a lonely place with no name and no face. Then finally we came upon it, not a town, really, a village with one great house and a few smaller ones. Perched there on the rocky ledge, it looked like the last stop before oblivion.
It's so quiet. I wonder where the people are.
I wonder if there are people. It's not a town at all. Perhaps we should have turned back when you said to.
Look.
Huh?
Look at the window.
Where?
I know I saw a face in the window.
Oh?
There's someone here, Alan. Someone.
No, you don't want to stay here, darling. Even if we find someone, this isn't the place for us now.
But you see, the door, it's opening. Alan, someone is here.
But, Joyce, this isn't the...
You have lost your way?
We were told there was a town here.
There is.
Well, is this all there is to it?
We do not require more.
Please. I'm tired. I need rest. Can't we stay here?
Is there a hotel? Any place where we can get a room?
There is what your eyes tell you there is, and no more.
Is there a larger town anywhere near here?
You are in Andorra. Nothing is far away. Nothing is easily reached.
What's the matter with you people? But you're always talking riddles. Can't you answer questions? Can't you...
Please. We must stay here somehow. Just a while. I need to stop a while.
She is your wife?
Yes.
There is no hotel.
I see there isn't.
This house has many rooms, but we are a large family.
Please. Please, understand me. I've got to stay here. I can't wind around any more narrow trails. I've got to stop and rest. Can't you understand? Can I make either of you understand?
Darling, it's all right. We'll find a room. You'll rest. Now, you mustn't worry, Joyce.
I must sleep. I must. No matter what happens, I must sleep.
Can't you do something?
Lady, you come.
Woman! Almost as soon as he called, a squat little woman appeared in the doorway. They exchanged only a look, and then she came and led Joyce into the house. At first, I thought the man meant for me to stay outside. He moved as if to stop me from following. Then he stepped back, and I walked into the house. Joyce was stretched out on the bed when I got there. The bed was the only piece of furniture in the room.
It's nice, isn't it, Alan?
Well, it's a room, a bed. I wish it were more.
Oh, I'm so tired.
Yes, darling. Now you go to sleep. When you wake up, as soon as you feel like it, I'll take you to Andorra la Vieja.
Yes, Alan. When I wake up.
Sleep well, darling.
She sleep?
Oh, she's very tired.
The woman says she trembled. The woman says she is full of fear.
I don't suppose there's a doctor anywhere around here.
We have no need for doctors.
My wife is ill. We have need for a doctor.
You will not find one here.
I know.
Hey, get away from that car. Now, go on now. I said, get away from it.
You are the intruder, not they.
Oh, they can leave the car alone.
They have.
Who are they?
My sons, my brothers, their sons. We are the family here. We are called Valera. We tend sheep and our own affairs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm worried about my wife. I didn't mean to shout at them.
Most of the time, our mountains protect us. We do not like intruders. It is not so bad in winter. The snows fall deep into the passes, seal them, and keep the intruders out.
We are not intruders. We don't want to be here. We don't mean to be here. And I promise you we won't be here long.
Sometimes the intruders come to hide in our mountains, to be lost from the world. Always the intruders are troubled people, full of fears and discontent. The worst of the world, they find their way to Andorra.
I walked away from him, along the crude cobble of the village path, away from the great house and the smaller ones. And everywhere, the sons, the brothers and their sons of Valera watched me with silent distrust. I walked to the rocky pinnacle that was the edge of the village, and beyond, as far as I could see, the awesome Pyrenees reached higher and higher, like a great wall closing out the rest of the world. I went back to the house where Joyce slept.
The woman is with her. She called out, and the woman went into her.
I shouldn't have left her alone. I must...
Wait.
What?
The woman has brought her quiet. That is enough.
I wouldn't try to keep me out here if I would... How is she, woman?
She is quiet now. The woman would not leave her so if she were not
quiet. Oh, Joyce, darling.
They said you'd gone.
No. Only for a little while. Only while you slept.
Don't come any closer.
Oh, Joyce. What is it?
Please. Leave me alone. I want you to leave me alone.
Oh, we're going to get out of this place, darling. Together.
No, I won't go. I won't.
We'll find the right road. It can't be far. And I promise you, darling, everything will be all right. We won't come here again. Ever.
Why don't you listen? Huh? I talk to you and you don't listen. I'm not going with you. You can't make me go with you. No.
Joyce, wait.
Don't let it take me away. No, please don't let it take me away.
Joyce was clinging to the woman. Valera stepped in front of him as I came back to the front room, and beside him, from every corner of the room, the rest of the Valera men began to form a wall between Joyce and me. A wall of men, silent men, with staring distrust in their eyes. What are you trying to do? Oh, can't you see she's sick? I've got to get her out of here. Don't you know that? I'm taking her with me. And the whole lot of you can't stop me.
You are listening to The Dark Wall, tonight's presentation of Escape. One advantage in having several radios about the house is that they make it possible for housewives to listen while they work. A kitchen set, another in the living room, perhaps a third in the bedroom. Keep them all tuned into CBS Radio for our great roster of daytime dramatic stories. And now Escape and the second act of The Dark Wall.
I roused from a sleep that was tortured and full of pain. A bright afternoon sun shone in a haze about me, and when my vision cut through it, I saw nothing my eyes had seen before. I was in my own car, pulled to one side of a road that was wider than any I'd seen for days. And not far in the distance I could hear the approach of other cars, but none were yet in my view. I got out, stood in the roadway. For all the stiff pain of me, it felt good to be part of the world again. But then I remembered Joyce, and the wall of Valera men, and I was lost and lonely and sick.
Hey, you should not walk in the middle of the road.
No, I shouldn't, only...
You are hurt? An accident?
No, I'm all right. I just don't know where I am. What road is this?
Oh, you're in Andorra. You know that?
I know that.
Then, straight ahead on this road, the direction your car is pointing. No more than 4 kilometers lies the capital, Andorra la Vieja.
Straight ahead, Andorra la Vieja.
I promise. I have just come through there myself. You are sure you are right? Not her?
No, I'm much better now. Do you know this country well?
Oh, well enough to drive through it quickly. My home is in Spain.
You wouldn't know a village. Near here, maybe a small village where everyone is called Valera?
No, I would not know it. There are many such villages in Andorra, if you can find them.
I must find it.
Perhaps in Andorra la Vieja?
Perhaps. My hopes were high for Andorra la Vieja. There would be answers for all my questions. There would be concern and help and interest. I told myself these things to keep my mind from filling itself with Joyce, to keep the pain quiet. Some corner of my mind held the memory of all that had happened in the house of Valera. I could not be sure I wanted to remember.
I do not see why you have come here, to me.
I didn't know any place else to go. I need so much help, I thought surely the police could do something.
There has been a crime?
No, my wife is ill. Very ill. She's with strange people in a strange village. I've got to find help for her and go back there.
Then why do you not do this? Why do you bother me?
I told you... Will you try to understand me? I don't know where the village is. I don't think it's far away, but I don't know where it is.
It has a name, the village?
I don't know that. The people there are called Valera.
There's a river called Valera.
No, I saw no river. No, not there. It was high, on a rocky crest of a mountain, just a few houses. You must know where it is.
You were there?
Yes, this morning.
Then you must know where it is.
No, I don't. I don't have any idea where it is.
But you were there this morning. And now you are here.
Look, I don't know how I got there. Can I make you understand that?
I think none of this is important.
Well, it's all important to me. My wife is ill. She needs care.
You tell me that. Perhaps then you would tell me why you left her in a strange village you do not know, with strange people you do not know.
I didn't leave her.
But she is there, and you are here.
Oh, you won't even try to help me.
Help you? Help you what? Find a town where you have been, and I have never been?
All right. All right. I can't talk anymore.
There is a hotel across the plaza. You will find other intruders there. Among them, a doctor.
I wasn't sure I'd heard him clearly, but there were no questions left in me. I stumbled out into the glaring sunlight again, steadied myself against a pillar, and when I could make out the hotel across the plaza, I walked there. Held together, I know, by the thin strand of hope that I would find the doctor and there would be help for Joyce.
Here, drink it, Don.
Oh, hey, whiskey?
It's good whiskey. You need it.
Oh, good. It helps. But you do understand, Doctor, I have not come about me.
Your wife, I know, I understand that.
Oh, I'm glad someone does. You think the priest can help us? You think he'll be able to find the village?
Well, the padre will direct us there if anyone can. Meanwhile, there's time. Now, tell me about your wife as much as you can, as much as you know of her illness.
Well, I've called it illness. I suppose it's that. Fear. Unreasonable fear is an illness, isn't it?
Oh, indeed it is, yes. Has she known these fears long?
I don't know. We've been married less than a month. I knew her only a short time before that. No, it was all pretty sudden. She was alone, I was alone, and then we were together.
Did you, happy together?
Oh, yes. Very happy. Very much in love.
Until this strangeness came over her.
Yes, that's right. May I?
Oh, please do. Help yourself.
Thank you.
How was it you described the difference in her, the difference in your relationship?
Like a wall, a mounting wall of silence.
Uh-huh.
And in this silent time of hers, she is much different? Not at all like the girl you married?
She doesn't even look like herself. Her lovely, gentle face contorts into a wild thing, like she was an animal. Oh, it's ugly, Doctor, and so real. I couldn't imagine that, could I?
No, I don't believe you could. She was like that early this morning when she tried to kill you?
She kept saying that she had to kill me, that she wanted to kill me. And all the while she was so frightened. So very frightened.
But do you know what frightened her? Do you know any reason why she should want to kill you?
Well, I thought she must be afraid of me. She'd have no reason to be, but I thought that must be it. I asked her, and she said, "It isn't you. I love you." Oh, the poor darling.
And she said that after she tried to kill you?
Almost immediately afterward. It's a complete contradiction, I know, but that's the way it is. As if Joyce were two persons. Two directly opposite persons.
That may be precisely the case, you know.
I don't understand.
Two persons. One almost entirely good, gentle, kind. The other almost entirely evil, terrifying, menacing, fiendish at times. Two persons occupying one body. That's schizophrenia.
Oh, no. No, not Joyce, Doctor.
Oh, I'd have to be sure, of course, but from what you said... But still, I'd have to see her, talk with her, or there are many steps to take. No, the important thing now is to see her as soon as possible.
Schizophrenia, that's hopeless, isn't it? I mean, there's no cure, is there?
Well, it depends largely, I should say, on how long these two personalities within her have been warring one with another, the good and the evil, and the moral and the immoral. If the cleavage is minor at this point, if the breach between her two selves, as it were, is not yet great, then there is a measure of hope.
But she couldn't go on this way indefinitely, being two people. Mustn't one of herselves, as you say, win this war?
If it progresses unchecked, well, then, yes, oneself will emerge triumphant. It is a poor war word here, for in such an instance the evil almost inevitably triumphs over the good.
Can we go to her now?
Yes, I'm sure the party will have our directions.
The priest's directions were perfect. As I'd assumed, the village was not far away, but the drive was an eternity for me. The strain of the last days was beginning to tell. I was wound tight and knotted by all that had happened and torn deep by all the doctor had said. I stopped outside the great house of Valera. The doctor touched my arm.
Perhaps it's best that I see her alone, at first.
Oh, but I've got to see her.
Oh, I know, and you will, but you don't know what happened here before you left. The last you remember, she was terrified of you. I'll send for you soon, I promise.
Tell her I love her. Will you?
Oh, indeed I will. Oh, there's one thing I neglected to tell you, one important facet of this.
Yeah?
If we find what we fear most, you must take this comfort to your heart. A girl you love, who loves you, has no knowledge whatsoever of her other self.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, you ponder that. I shan't be long.
I watched the house door close behind him. And there in the high quiet alone, I took the comfort he offered me. The choice I loved me. That was all there was, really. All in the world I needed to know.
You will not go in there. The woman, the doctor, they have brought her quiet again.
I am going in. I will kill any or all of you who stand in the way. Move. Move! There. Anyone else want his head bashed in? Good. We'll make a real mess of things, won't we? Come on. I like to crack skulls. What's the matter? Come on. Keep me from that door. Make one little move and I'll
tear you loose. Men of honor, I see. Where is she?
Don't let him. Don't let him try to kill me again.
Look at her. Look at all of you crawling, shrinking cowards. What are you? Gentlemen? You make me sick, all of you. I killed him, you know. He was a gentleman. Dear, gentle Alan. He won't be with us anymore.
Oh, please. Please, somebody do something.
Easy now. Somebody will.
Come on.
No. Alan.
I'll tell you, Joyce, what I told him. And you must take this comfort to your heart. Alan, the man you loved you very much. He didn't know this other self ever existed.
There were faces all around me. A wall of faces. Senseless, staring faces. And beyond them, a strange girl wept softly. All strangers. Strangers staring at me. And I stared back at the wall.
Under the direction of Norman MacDonald, Escape has brought you The Dark Wall by Kathleen Hite, starring John Daner with Joyce McCluskey. Featured in the cast were Ben Wright, Edgar Berrier, Nestor Paiva, and Fritz Feld. Your announcer, George Walsh. The special music for Escape is composed and conducted by Leith Stevens. Next week.
You are in a farmhouse on the southern coast of England. The autumn countryside around you desolate and bleak. And you know that in the dusk outside, waiting patiently for you, silently watching for you, is an enemy from whom there may be no escape.
So listen next week when Escape brings you Daphne du Maurier's story, The Birds. A reminder for drama and adventure fans, two of CBS Radio's best-known thrillers, Gangbusters and Gunsmoke, both heard Saturday nights, will be moving to Monday evenings on most of these same stations after this Saturday's performances. Follow the latest crime clues and true crime-smashing drama on Gangbusters this Saturday night, and don't miss U.S. Marshal Matt Dillon's latest Western adventure on Gunsmoke the same evening. Then, after this Saturday, remember to listen for them both on their new night starting next Monday, July 5th. Listen while you work. Enjoy Our Gal Sunday, Monday through Friday on the CBS Radio Network.
Rice Chex and Wheat Chex, the bite-sized cereals in the red and white checkerboard packages, present Space Patrol! High adventure in the wild, vast reaches of space. Missions of daring in the name of interplanetary justice. Travel into the future with Buzz Corey, Commander-in-Chief of the Space Patrol! In today's transcribed Space Patrol adventure, Buzz and Happy are in a Circus car speeding down a highway toward Lowell City on the planet Mars.
It looks like we're going to make it, Commander. If anyone was going to stop us, they've lost their... Commander, look. I see it, Hap.
It's an atmosphere ship. It's swooping down right on top of us.
The Cobra gang. And there's no way we can fight them off.
What they're waiting for. If that ship's armed, they're close enough to blast us to pieces.
Uh-oh. What's that?
Magnetic holding field.
Smoke and rockets are picking up the car.
We're helpless. If they cut that field, we'll crash.
We'll return in just a moment with today's exciting Space Patrol adventure, The Zero Ray.
Rice Chex are the perfect size. It's tops with all the guys. Fit right into a spoon, good to eat, morning, evening, and noon.
Well, hi, Space Patrollers. This is Captain Dick Tufeld, and that was George, the Space Patrol jingle maker, telling you in his way that Rice Chex are tops for size.
For flavor, tops, too. Those Chex ring a bell. Any way you eat 'em, Rice Chex taste swell.
Tops for taste, you bet. A delicious toasted taste. Rice Chex will ring the bell with you, Space Patrollers, any way you eat it.
With a good breakfast or out of the box for a snack, eat Rice Chex, gang, for a quick comeback.
A quick comeback or a quick go-ahead. You get it after a nourishing breakfast with Rice Chex. Because Rice Chex are tops for get up and go.
If you like whole wheat, super keen and neat, make sure, Space Patrollers, the Chex you eat are wheat.
Rice Chex, Wheat Chex, in the red and white checkerboard package, with the picture of Commander Corey or Cadet Happy on the outside and the free Space Patrol trading card inside. Rice Chex, Wheat Chex, tops three ways, for taste, for size, for get up and go. And now today's Space Patrol adventure, The Zero Ray. With Emil Gargoth at last in custody on Terra, Commander Corey has had every right to consider the menace of the Cobra gang to be ended. Even if Gargoth should stubbornly refuse to name his henchmen, the brainograph could easily reveal their identities and every detail of the elaborate structure of the criminal organization. But something has happened to prevent the immediate use of the brainograph on Emil Gargoth. In his central office at Space Patrol headquarters, Commander Corey fumes at the delay.
There isn't any excuse for this. I gave orders that Gargoth was to be watched every second.
Well, maybe he really did get sick, Commander.
Of course he's sick. Must have had some chemical concealed on him. Somebody slipped up when they searched him.
Well, anyway, he'll be out of the hospital in a day or so, and then we can give him the brainograph test.
By then, most of his important agents will know Gargoth has been captured. They'll have time to get away.
I guess that's right. But at least they won't be operating as the Cobra gang. There'll just be a lot of individual rats running for cover.
So much depended on the fast closing in on Gargoth's leaders. Now get that, will you, Ham?
Yes, sir. Commander Corey's office. Cadet Happy here. Yes, Dr. Arnold. Yeah, he's right here. Commander, it sounds important.
Yes, Dr. Arnold. What? But I posted a guard. I'll be right over. We've got to get over to the Terra Hospital right away. Gargoth has escaped.
A few moments later, in the office of the superintendent of the Terra Hospital, Buzz and Happy listened to a greatly distressed Dr. Arnold.
Before you question your guards, Commander, I want to accept full responsibility. Emil Gargoth was admitted here as a criminal and as hospital superintendent.
Just a minute, Dr. Arnold. The matter of responsibility for Gargoth's escape is secondary right now. I want to find out where he is and how he got away.
I'm sorry I can't tell you that, Commander. There was so much confusion at the time.
All right, Doctor. Happy.
Yes, sir?
Bring those two guards in here. I'll find out why they left their posts at the door of Gargoth's room.
I can tell you that, Commander.
Now, hold it, Ham. All right, Doctor.
They left their posts to move some patients that were completely helpless. Patients that I thought were in grave danger.
Danger from what?
Fire, explosion, I don't know. Things were in a turmoil here for a while.
What do you mean, fire and explosion?
Everything went crazy all of a sudden. From all over the hospital, patients were complaining that their rooms were too warm. The heating system was out of control. And then we discovered the water pipes were frozen.
Frozen? Here on Terra?
That's right. It's as though the electronic brain that controls our temperature systems had gone mad. Patients, nurses, even some of the doctors were panic-stricken.
You say the temperature controls went mad. What caused it?
I don't know. But I didn't want helpless patients to be hurt in a fire or explosion or whatever was threatening. I gave an order to my staff to evacuate the bedridden patients, and your Space Patrol guards elected to help. During the confusion, Gargoth disappeared. I have jurisdiction over this hospital, Commander. I declared an emergency. Your guards acted accordingly. I hope you won't be too hard on them.
Technically, they deserted their posts, but I think under the circumstances I would have done the same. As it looks to me, Gargoth took advantage of an accidental situation, or his gang engineered the whole thing.
I don't see how that could be. The hospital heating and refrigeration systems are automatic and virtually foolproof.
After I talk to those guards, suppose we make a complete check. Happy, call those men in here.
A few moments later, Commander Corey dismisses the guards and, with Dr. Arnold and Happy, examines the master temperature control unit in the sub-cellar of the Terra Hospital.
This graph on the control unit tells a story, Commander.
Up to 1400 hours, everything was normal, almost a straight line.
Yeah. Then the heating chart swoops up to 140 degrees.
To freeze the water system and raise the room temperature to the degree we experienced a while ago, well, the whole central regulating system would have to be out of adjustment. But as you see now, everything's normal. Yes. Doctor, what's that device over there in the corner? Hmm? Oh, frankly, I don't know. I never saw it before. Let's have a look at it. Judging by the handles on it, it was meant to be portable.
It isn't very heavy, sir.
Well, Dr. Arnold doesn't know what it is, and it doesn't resemble anything I'm familiar with.
Me either, Commander.
We just take it to the security lab for a check.
In the rear view scope of a private space cruiser, the bright circle that is Terra grows smaller and smaller. Two men watch it intently, moment after moment, without speaking. Then, with a sigh of relief, the larger of the two men turns to his companion.
Well, the screen's clear, Rensler. If anyone was after us, we'd have spotted them by now.
Yeah, I guess we made it, Mr. Gaga.
I'd like to know what's going on back at that hospital. I'll bet Corey's tearing the place apart.
Yeah, but what if we find a zero ray?
Well, what if he has? Does that mean he can trace it to you? Well, does it?
No, of course not. At least not right away.
Wait a minute. Do you mean there's a slight chance that the zero ray can be traced to you?
Now, look, Mr. Gargot, didn't I take a big chance getting you out of the hospital? Would I be hiding you out at my place at Meteor Lake if I thought the Space Patrol would reach out and grab me?
It's my policy to trust nobody. You may be sincere, Rensler, but you're not infallible. Your cabin at Meteor Lake will do for the time being.
Yes, sir.
When we reach Venus, I'll check with my agents for a safer hideout.
Back in his office at Space Patrol headquarters, Commander Corey examines a stack of diagrams and documents. From time to time, he pulls one aside and places it in a separate file. Buzz looks up as Happy enters.
Here's the Space Control Operations Report, Commander.
Okay. Incidentally, it didn't take long for the lab to find out what that gadget was for.
The one we found at the hospital?
Mm-hmm. It's a practical application of the Volkovsky principle.
Oh, it is? Well, what's the Volkovsky principle, Commander?
Well, as you know, heat is the result of rapid movement of molecules, either in a gas, liquid, or solid.
Yes, sir.
Some time ago, a scientist named Volkovsky advanced the theory that extremely low temperatures might be produced by an electromagnetic force that slowed down molecular vibration.
And this thing we picked up at the hospital does that?
Yes, Happy. It projects invisible beams that literally freeze everything they touch.
Oh. And that's what froze the water system.
Exactly.
Hey, but wait, the rooms were overheated. What caused that?
The same device. One of the freeze beams was focused on the master thermostatic control. As you know, a thermostat doesn't think, it reacts. When it contracts from cold, it turns on the heat, trying to restore normal adjustment and equilibrium.
Oh, and this gadget fooled it.
Yes, when the central thermostat registered cold, the system kept pouring out heat.
Wow.
Fortunately, the device producing the freeze beam shut itself off before any real damage occurred.
Except that Gargoth escaped.
Yes. But Major Robertson found out something very interesting, Happy. He made a check through our records of everyone submitting designs pertaining to the Volkovsky principle. He found this.
It's too complicated for me, sir.
It's a preliminary application for a patent, presented 5 years ago by 3 electronics engineers here on Terra. The government board of analysts pointed out some defects, and everybody lost interest.
Well, there weren't any defects in that model we found at the hospital. Those 3 inventors must have corrected their mistakes.
No, Happy, they lost interest. The man who drew up their designs seems to have continued independently. The designs were drawn up by Ulrich Rensler. See, his name is on this drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie's positive that the physical work done on the freeze beam device is that of Ulrich Rensler. It matches that of the models of other types of inventions submitted for inspection.
Oh, then Rensler is working with the Cobra gang.
Either that or the Cobra gang stole the model from Rensler and planted it in the hospital.
Rensler. Hey, wait a minute. That operations report I just handed you. Could I see it a moment, sir?
Here it is, sir.
I know I saw that name here somewhere.
For the past year, Rensler has been living on Venus by Meteor Lake, supposedly on royalties from his inventions.
Here, sir, I found it. This ship that blasted off at 1432, private cruiser VP-738. It's registered to Ulrich Rensler.
I'll alert Venus Space Patrol, then we'll blast off of Venus. We'll see if anything's going on at Meteor Lake.
Several hours later, the Terra 5 roars high over the cloudy surface of Venus, spiraling around the Meteor Lake region 300 miles west of Venus City. Carefully, Cadet Happy adjusts the infrared viewscope scanner.
I can make out a construction of some kind, Commander. It seems to be on a slight rise of ground a few yards from the lake shore.
That's Rensler's cabin.
Uh-oh. And there's a spaceship. It's set down in a clearing just south of the cabin. It looks like the class and type of cruiser registered to Rensselaer.
See if you can find a place where we can land without being seen or heard from the cabin.
It's going to be tough, sir. Unless we want to hike through the hills several miles.
Let me take a look at that screen. That is going to be a problem. The lake would act like a sounding board if we came in close.
Yeah, and the valley would echo our rockets.
Hey, wait. At the north end of the lake, there's an inlet. Sort of like a pointing finger.
Yes, sir?
That inlet is shielded from the cabin side of the lake by this curved ridge. A low gliding approach from the north might do the trick. We'd have to land on the other side of the inlet, but that bridge might dampen the sound.
Yeah.
Still means a hike nearly halfway around the lake. We stand a good chance of surprising Rensselaer and Garga.
Inside the comfortable cabin, Ulrich Rensselaer gazes out through the window, out across the lake. Smiling, he turns to his companion.
Beautiful, isn't it, Mr. Garga? That's the third time you've said that. Look, show me where your space phone is. I want to make arrangements to get out of here.
Just as you wish. But you're just as safe here as any place.
I'm sure I heard a spaceship a while ago.
It's nothing to worry about. Possibly one flew over the valley several miles north of the lake, and the sound rumbled down. No one could get close to the cabin without our seeing them. And believe me, we could hold off an army.
Yes? How?
The same device I used to throw the hospital temperature control system out of order. The zero ray.
You mean that's a weapon?
Yeah. It's got an effective range of 1,000 yards. Turn it on any living thing for 10 seconds, and it will freeze it solid. Look, I'll show you.
What are you going to do?
Just watch. I'll turn it on. Better stand over there out of the way. Now, that's it. Now, you see those leaves fluttering in the breeze? Keep your eye on them.
They've stopped moving.
That's right. The smaller the object, the quicker it works. The zero ray slows the dents of any electrons down almost to a stop.
Wait. Look over there. Those bushes by the edge of the lake. Something moved.
Yeah, it's probably a deer. There are a lot of them in this.
That's no deer. It's a man. He's gone now, but I saw his space patrol uniform.
Don't worry, Mr. Gargard. This will take care of him nicely.
But he's out of sight.
That doesn't matter. A few sweeps of the zero ray across that clump of brush, and every living thing there will be frozen solid.
We'll return to Space Patrol in just a moment.
This is Dick Tufeld in Los Angeles reporting on the famous jet plane assigned to the vital Air Force mission of defending America's homeland, Lockheed's F-94C Starfire. In a moment, we'll hear from Tony LaVere, the well-known record-breaking test pilot on the Starfire. Within seconds after warning, this radar-controlled interceptor can be off the ground and streaking to 45,000 feet or higher. Packing 48 rockets, it can fly and fight in sunshine or darkness at speeds of more than 600 miles an hour. Now, Tony LaVere tape recorded this morning at a California air base.
You know, good health is important to a test pilot, and I have to stay in top condition. I get lots of rest and eat plenty of good food. That's why I like a good cereal for breakfast, like rice checks or wheat checks. They have real energy and they taste swell. Why don't you try them?
Make sure you keep yourself ready for action, the way Tony LaVere and lots of other famous test pilots do. Eat rice checks or wheat checks every morning. The cereals that are tops three ways. Tops for taste, for size, for real get up and go. That's checks, wheat or rice. And remember, they're tops with America's top pilots. And now back to today's Space Patrol adventure, the Zero Ray. Emil Gargoff, leader of the Cobra Gang, escaped from the Terra Hospital with the aid of Ulrich Rensselaer. And now the two men are hiding in Rensselaer's cabin at Meteor Lake on the planet Venus. Hoping to take the two criminals by surprise, Buzz and Happy are cautiously making their way through the brush along the lake shore, unaware that they've been observed. From the cabin, Rensselaer is sweeping the deadly zero-ray beam over the vegetation, planning to freeze the two space patrollers literally in their tracks.
Something. I could do with the rest. This heat is really something.
Yeah. Look at these leaves and branches.
What about them, sir?
A moment ago they were swaying in the breeze. Now they're rigid. Yet the breeze is still blowing.
Uh-huh. It's rippling the water on the lake.
Hey, look out, Happy.
Commander, if you hadn't warned me, that limb would have hit me.
Look at these leaves and twigs.
Smoking rockets, they shattered, just like glass.
Feel the limb.
Cold. Cold as ice.
Yes. The tropical weather of Venus.
This is a perfectly healthy branch. Now, why would it break off in a little breeze?
Because it's brittle. Hap, look over there to your right. See how those leaves suddenly stop fluttering?
Yeah. It's as though something were passing over them and freezing them.
Hap, quickly. Under the bank and jump off into the water. Hurry.
Wow. I'm glad we jumped instead of dived. The water isn't even up to our hips.
Rensler and Gargoth have one of those freeze beam machines at the cabin.
Then they've seen us.
Probably. They aren't sure exactly where we are. They wouldn't be swinging the beam around like that.
I hope that bank is high enough to shield us.
It is. The beam is right over our heads now.
How can you tell?
That branch just above us suddenly stopped moving.
Well, look, sir. The tree on the left is still moving.
Yeah. They must have shut off the freeze beam.
They figure they finished us, huh?
We'll keep to the water and work around past the cabin, and maybe we can surprise them.
See? There's not a sign of them. They're somewhere in that brush, rigid as statues. Let's go and find them.
No. We're getting out of here right now.
What for? Nobody will bother us now.
Are you crazy? How do we know that a whole fleet of Space Patrol ships won't be landing here any minute?
Yeah, maybe you're right. But I still don't think Mars is such a good place. You operated from there for a while.
I operated from Lowell City. This place I've got in mind is a way off from everything.
Yeah, you showed me on the map. All right, Mr. Gargon, I'll load the zero-ray equipment in the ship. So
leave it here. I don't want to take time to bother with it. Let's get out of here while we've got a chance.
Wait a minute, Hap. Don't go any farther. I can see the roof of the cabin now. Got to be careful, not let Gargoth and Rensler see us.
It's going to be rough, passing the front of the cabin. The bank isn't very high. There's no vegetation. Smoking rockets. There's a spaceship blasting off. Oh, they got away. I guess they knew that we dodged the freeze ray.
Not necessarily.
See, they're nearly out of sight already. And it'll take us at least an hour to get back to our ship.
Let's go to the cabin instead. The spaceophone Venus City to alert patrol ships to look for Rensler's cruiser.
I hope they haven't smashed their spaceophone transmitter.
Now, come on, Hap. Keep under cover as much as possible. For all we know, somebody may still be at the cabin.
Cautiously, Buzz and Happy worked their way toward the cabin, then softly approached the door, which stands wide open.
Maybe somebody's in there after all. The door's open.
Well, I've got to come out in the open now. Come on. I'll go in first.
It's deserted, all right.
Yes, it has all the signs of a hasty departure.
Yeah, they didn't even take time to pack. Look at all the stuff here. Yeah. Rensler must have thousands of credits worth of furnishings.
Let's look around. Maybe we can get a clue on where they went. I'll check over the desk.
Yes, sir. Say, here's the freeze beam equipment. Only Rensler calls it the Zero Ray. Zero Ray Model X1, it says here on the panel.
Uh-huh. Several notebooks here. I'll take them along to study later.
Commander, here's some numbers scribbled down. By the looks of them, they may be spaceophone frequencies.
Let me see them. Uh-huh.
And here's some maps, astrogation charts, and sectional maps of some of the planets.
Let me see those maps. Are there any special marks on them?
No, I'll check, sir.
There's a notation on this scratch pad that might mean something. The word Jupiter has been crossed out, and there's a word that looks like it might be Mars. And it says 150 NE-LC.
150 NE-LC. It doesn't mean a thing to me. Oh, Commander, here's a chart of sector H5, Mars, and it's got a mark on it.
Let's see. Yeah, it's a tiny cross. That's all arid desert in that region. Cross is between Lowell City and a nearly played-out mining area. Wait a minute. Let's see the scale. Happy, what if NELC stood for northeast of Lowell City? How far is that small X from Lowell City?
About 150... Say, 150 NELC. Yeah, it fits. 150 miles northeast of Lowell City.
I'll space it for Mars Space Patrol. We'll check on that area from very high altitude so we won't scare anybody away. Then we'll blast off for Mars.
Great. But I sure dread that long trek back around the edge of the lake to that ship. Why, if Rensler only had a boat, we could row across and save a lot of time.
It's all right, Hap. We'll walk across.
Okay, that's an idea. We can walk across the lake?
Sure. We can work this zero ray. Stand back.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to focus it right at the edge of the lake and turn up the power.
Smoking rockets. The water's turning to ice. A whole strip of it.
A strip as wide as the freeze beam. After I make that spacephone call, we'll carry the zero-ray machine down to the lake and make our bridge of ice ahead of us as we cross.
In the small sleeping compartment of his private cruiser, Ulrich Renzler tosses fitfully on his bunk as the ship streaks through space toward the planet Mars. Suddenly, he awakens with a start as a hand grips his shoulder.
Come on, Renzler, wake up.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Carter.
Who did you expect it to be? There's nobody aboard but us.
Just jumpy, I guess. Do you want me to take the controls for a while?
Yes. That is why I called you. Your quick freeze ray didn't work back at the lake.
What? How do you know?
I overheard part of a spacephone conversation. You know who that was trying to surprise us at the cap? Commander Corey.
Corey?
We not only missed him, but he's wise to our plan. He knows we're going to the desert outside of Lowell City.
Oh. How could he possibly know about that?
All right, don't get excited. I've got a plan worked out so we can finish Corey for good.
Wait, Mr. Garga. Let's leave Corey alone.
It's foolproof, Renzler. Corey's going to search the desert in a surface car. He figures he can pass for somebody connected with one of those mining outfits in that area.
Yeah.
We'll switch to an atmosphere ship at Hubble Settlement on the other side of Mars. Then we'll take care of Corey.
With Lowell City far behind them, Buzz and Appy roar over the Martian desert highway in a sand-scarred surface car. From their rough work clothes, they appear to be a couple of mining engineers on their way to one of the lonely quarries or mines on the Martian wastelands.
Gee, Commander, we've come more than 50 miles and we haven't seen a soul.
That's probably why Gargoth's picked this region for a hideout.
With this battered-up car and the surveying equipment, we ought to be able to get pretty close to his place without exciting suspicion.
That's what I'm counting on, Hap. With all those tools back there, we could be independent prospectors if we have to.
Hey, Commander, look.
I see it, Hap. It's an atmosphere ship, and it's swooping down right on top of us. If that ship's armed, they're close enough to blast us to pieces.
Hey, what's that?
It's the ship's magnetic holding field.
Smoking rockets. Hey, they're picking up the car. We're right off the highway.
We're helpless. They cut that field, we'll crash.
Well, the ship's sure gaining altitude fast.
Yes, it's too late to jump.
Are you all right, Commander?
It's Gargoth.
This is the main commander. Switch your space phone to 478.2 megacycles. And don't attempt to contact Space Patrol headquarters or I'll cut the holding field and drop you. Understand?
Yes, Gargoth. I understand.
We are now 100 feet off the ground. Renzler will maintain this altitude until we are far away from Lowell City. Or over the hills, I shall cut the holding field and drop you into a most inaccessible spot, miles from a highway or road. Chances are the wreckage will never be found.
Just how do you think you're going to get off of Mars? Every spaceport is being watched, and this is only an atmosphere ship.
I have a spaceship ready, and it's miles from a spaceport, Commander. Now, if you'll excuse me, Corey, I'll keep a sharp lookout for space patrol ships.
Not a patrol ship in sight.
No. I'm sure that spaceport switch is at the off position, Hap. I don't want Gargoth to hear us.
Believe me, there are a few things I want him to hear.
Got to work fast, Happy.
What can we do? We're suspended under the belly of a ship 100 feet off the ground, and Gargoth will probably take us higher before he drops us.
Hap, reach back in that tool chest.
Yes, sir.
Is the thermal torch there?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now listen, right above us in Gargoth's ship is a small cargo bay. Now get busy with that cutting.
There's no other ship in sight, Mr. Garga.
Good, and we're at 250 feet altitude.
That ought to make it nice and permanent.
All right, Renzler. Cut the holding field.
There they go.
I'll bank the ship so we can watch that surface car crash.
Boom! Some smash, eh, Mr. Garga?
Well, that takes care of Corey and his cadet.
It sure does. There's no doubt about it this time. We really... Mr. Gardner.
Renzler, what's the matter with you? Have you... Corey, don't stand there gibbering, Renzler. Shoot them.
No, you don't.
Hey, Commander, the controls. Gargo's trying to crash us. We're driving straight for a hill.
Hold Renzler, Hap. Okay, Gargoth, I'll take over.
we're out just in time.
I'll take the ship into Lowell City, Hap. This time we'll make sure Gargoth doesn't pull any tricks and escape.
No, sir. He won't get a chance to dodge the brainograph test by going to the hospital either. Yeah, Gargoth, you're going to the brainograph with a clear head if I have to knock you cold.
An action preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure in just a moment. Space Patrollers, you all know what sound effects are. You hear them all the time on your radios. But listen to these musical sound effects and see if you can guess what we're doing with Rice Checks and Wheat Checks. Yep, Space Patrollers, there's a big bowl filling up with Rice Checks or Wheat Checks. Man, oh man, it even sounds delicious. And it tastes even better. Those triple oven-toasted biscuits are tops for taste. Now we're pouring on the cream. Listen, you can almost hear those crisp, crunchy checks filling up with that cream. And then for the first bite, wow, what a bite! Size just right. Because checks are made in that modern bite-size design, makes them tops for size. Hey, that's you, blasting off for a big day of action after a good, nourishing breakfast with Chex, the cereal's tops for get up and go. So, gang, go get Rice Chex today, and get Wheat Chex, too, the official bite-sized cereals of the Space Patrol. In the red and white checkerboard package with the picture of Commander Corey or Cadet Happy on the outside, the one and only cereals that bring you a free Space Patrol trading card inside the package. Rice Chex, Wheat Chex. Now, a preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure. Buzz and Happy are in their spacesuits, advancing across the rocky surface of the planet Mercury toward the hideout of an escaped criminal.
Hold it, Happy. Something moved up there ahead of us.
It looked like an animal of some kind.
An animal on Mercury?
That's right. Well, whatever it is, there's another one.
Pat, it's a small robot. Castro is probably using them to observe us.
Yeah, they look like turtles, except that they move a lot faster.
You go back a few hundred yards and figure out another plan of action. Pat, look behind us. We're surrounded by them.
Yes, sir. Oh, my leg!
It's some kind of weapon. They're shooting pain rays right through our spacesuits.
They're closing in on us. Dozens of them. Commander, I can't move!
Be sure to join us next week for the thrilling story, The Super Brain of Volmer Castro, when Rice Checks and Wheat Checks again present Space Patrol! Space Patrol, created by Mike Moser, starring Ed Kemmer as Commander Corey, and Lynn Osborne as Cadet Happy, was written by Lou Houston, produced and directed by Larry Robertson, executive producer Mike Devery. Other players were Ken Mayer, Norman Jolly, Baylor Kovach, and Stephen Robertson. Dick Tufeld speaking. Now, don't forget to tune in next Saturday and every Saturday when Rice Checks and Wheat Checks again present Space Patrol. Be sure to see another exciting Space Patrol program on your local ABC television station. Consult your local paper for time and channel. This program is broadcast for Armed Forces overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Space Patrol came to you transcribed from Hollywood. This is ABC Radio Network.